All right, here we are for the guest expert training for this week with my friend Joss Aguar. And as I've been promising you guys, Joss is going to break down for us what I call building an avatar and what he calls simply client research. Joss was just on the podcast, and now I like to say he'll teach you how to find clients and get leads, but don't call him a marketer. So Joss, welcome, man. Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Manny. What's up, brother?
Just chilling. I've got people dancing across the screen in the background there, so all good in my house, man.
Love it, bro. Love it.
Yeah. So let's get a little more granular this time. We were conceptual on the podcast, which I thought was awesome. Great chatting with you then. If we had, do we have anybody? I don't think we have anybody at the moment. So let's take a sample new client of yours who doesn't have clarity on who their person is, their target. And let's go through the process of how we find that for them.
Right. I guess we start with giving people a bit of context on what we're doing here. So
sure.
Anything you do with marketing, anything you do to grow your business really starts with understanding who your customer is.
Yeah.
That's 80% of your lifting. If you had 10 hours to create your marketing campaigns, you'd spend 8 of them researching your clients.
Yeah.
Researching them, understanding them, getting to know them. That's where the money will, people who have successful campaigns and those who have flops start to separate themselves. It's in the research phase.
Yeah.
Whereas you see a lot of people who spend the majority of the time in the tactical phase, they'll get some success, but it's generally hit and miss.
Yeah.
So, and finish what we're actually doing here. It's copywriting is what our end goal is, to be able to find the copy that we need to write sales messages properly, which copy is quite simply entering a conversation that's already going on inside of your prospect's mind and smoothly present your offer in a way that has them wanting to take the next logical action on path to purchasing whatever you have to offer.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we need to be able to understand their minds and what's going on there already.
Right. And this is where, as I say, anytime somebody will listen, this is where most people don't do the correct amount of work. They don't do the heavy lifting here. And so they wind up sort of like they're on a seesaw. You know what I mean? A teeter-totter? You know what that is? Do you have a different name for that in Australia?
Yeah, seesaws.
Yeah. And it's like some 18-pound or some 80-pound kid and some 200-pound kid, right? And the 80-pound kid is the person who didn't do their research, trying to figure out how to get their feet on the ground. It's very, very difficult if you don't do that research first. So the first, let's say that we are selling, I don't know. You want to pick a topic, or do you want to use me again?
Let's use you again, because I think that was something that everyone will find useful.
Cool. Okay. So what I come to you and I say, Joss, I think that my ideal client is an entrepreneur or a coach who wants to leverage speaking to grow their business. So what's the first thing you say to me besides that's not clear enough?
Tell me a bit more about them. Are they male, female?
So in my case, they tend to be female.
Okay.
Now, if I was actually a client, I would say to you, I've done some avatar research and I have an avatar. Her name is Veronica. She's 44 years old. She works in a professional role now. She has a failed marriage with 2 kids. She has discordance and a sort of a non-harmonious relationship with the ex. She's thrown herself into work, from a very young age, and has a childhood that would be somewhere between difficult and downright traumatic.
Okay, I'd say you've done far more research than most people in that sense.
Well, it took, fair warning to people listening, that took me a long, long time. At first, I really did what I think most people do, which was just sort of create a reflection of myself and try to market to it. So it took me a long time to get to that. And so anyway, On we go.
So before we start going deep into the data, there's two types of data we're actually looking at here. There's the demographic profiles, so things like where they live, their gender, their level of education, and what we call a psychographic profile, which is how they think.
Uh-huh.
Now, Veronica, you said she's in a professional role. What kind of professional role is that?
So she would be like a mid-level manager in a Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 corporation.
Okay.
So corporate through and through, but just realizing that, that it's not what she wanted to do with her life. And maybe that's jumping the gun because I didn't really realize that till the last time we spoke. So I should tell them that. So I thought that for those of you guys tuning in after the fact on this, I thought that my avatar was somebody who was just like a mid-level manager in some sort of a corporation, like a large corporation. Through talking with Joss and him asking some great questions, I discovered she's actually wanting to transition out of that because she's feeling a conflict because there's no fulfillment, even though the money's good.
Okay, so she's someone who's in transitionary stage of her life. She's not
Correct.
Quite sure. Does she know what the transition is?
Coaching.
So she's already decided on coaching.
So yeah, she hasn't narrowed it down. Here's what she knows. She knows that she has a powerful story. She feels that it's more so than just that sort of platitude that's out there about how everybody has a powerful story. She feels that hers is uniquely powerful. She has no idea what kind of coaching she wants to do. She just has a sense that she wants to help other people who have been through similar situations.
I challenge you on that. Does this person feel like she's a powerful story, or is being that middle manager role, she already has people reporting to her, she knows how to grow certain businesses in certain aspects, and she wants to take it to maybe the small business market?
How would we determine the answer to that question? I think that's a great place to start. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tell me about your best clients right now.
So so that is who Veronica is. She is an avatar based on my current best clients.
Multiple? So you've got a few clients that are like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few clients who fit that profile.
When you say she's had a story about her, what exactly does that mean?
Say again.
When you say she's got a powerful story, what does that mean?
So in every case, it involves significant amounts of trauma, usually like from a parent or a close relative. Sometimes sexual, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional, sometimes all three, sometimes a combination, right? So it's the general sort of dream that Veronica has is to show the world that she's risen above it. She's processed it and moved through it and now wants to help other people do the same.
Very unique avatar. Very specific person, which you have to be very careful with copy you write to attract that person. But definitely powerful. And I'm not entirely sure that is going to be the best avatar for you. Whether going forwards you can find a lot of people that are like this Veronica.
Interesting. So
the reason I say that, people who are in trauma tend to either be like her or into that victim mode. So even if they are feeling they've processed it, they still feel like they're victims.
Yeah. There is a certain percent, a notable percent of what you might call, we'll just call that kind of person who's attracted to me based on my marketing and how I show up. The people who are still victims and they want to come to me and have me validate their victim experience. It's interesting too. I don't know how germane this will be, but they think that they have sort of moved through it and are ready to teach other people. But as soon as they start talking with me, it's just a constant sort of
victim
request for validation. Yeah. Whereas some of them are like, nope, I'm ready to get to work. Let's do it. What do we need to do? So, yeah.
So I'd almost say look if we can find another avatar of yours that does really well.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect of your clients that work really well. You can help.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can better target our marketing towards them.
So I will tell you one interesting thing that has happened, and this is true. As soon as I started focusing, and this is more, I think the language has always been there to appeal to educated people, like college educated people. But as soon as I included an income bracket, an income range in the avatar, and started shifting the marketing toward that, the quality of people has been more consistent and been at a higher level. So that's interesting. I mean, if you're watching this and you're creating your avatar, you might not think that just something as seemingly simple as 200 to 500,000 a year would really shift kind of the whole scope of where are you putting your ads, what is your marketing saying, but it really did.
Then languaging, these people who others would feel are successful, they feel like they're missing out on something. There's a piece of them that's not quite there.
That's definitely a part of it. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd focus on this powerful story in the way that you're saying, just because it invites the victims to come through as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the result they're looking to do, though?
So that's really insightful. And I have sort of shifted away from the verbiage and the language of, powerful story of transformation and into share your story powerfully from the stage, which I think it seems like it's fairly similar, but it has been part of I don't actually know if I can quantify it, right? If I can say that's definitely been something that has helped. But what I can say is that shifting away from the whole sort of imagery of like coming through the fire and rising up again, and to implication that you've already done that and now I help you share it, has definitely kind of tightened it up.
So it kind of goes, you're no longer just doing any kind of speaker training, you're doing specific motivational speaker trainings.
Mm-hmm. I characterize it as transformational speaker. And I'm careful to make distinctions in my copy, because motivational speaker actually seems like every time Tony Robbins does a large event now, motivational speakers get a ding, right? Because he's so
let's not even talk about what he just did.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's like so controversial all of a sudden. Anyway, whatever.
Me too.
Yeah. hashtag. So I clarify transformational speakers as people who don't just get up on stage and inspire the audience, but who give them at least an opportunity to have a life-changing perspective shift rather than just feeling good while they're talking.
Yeah, so these people already know those tools that they're trying to give to people, or are you helping them develop the tools and trainings that they're going to be delivering in this?
I help them deliver. Yeah, I help them create the transformational moments.
Okay.
So what next?
So we know the education, and we know the gender. We know a little bit about the story.
Yeah.
We've done much of the heavy lifting here. Tell us a bit more about the education. So at this point, I'm assuming they've done at least degree qualified to be in the roles they're in.
Typically, yes. Typically, either a master's degree, or in some cases, I really resonate well with people who are self-educated but at a high level. I think it's just my penchant for vocabulary. I don't like to have to simplify what I say. I don't like to dumb it down, as it were. And so
here's the other part of that. Because you said they've already processed this. How did they process it? Usually
it is a combination of therapy and miscellaneous spiritual, retreats or practices, or, they tend to be at this place where it's like they don't need another guru. They don't need another thing. They just need to focus it and put it into action now.
Okay, so a little bit, when you say spiritual retreats, a little bit woo?
Yeah, a little bit. Have you noticed that there's a kind of person who everything is woo-woo all the time? And then there's a kind of person who can talk that talk, but you get the sense that their feet are sort of metaphorically
Grounded.
firmly on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those would be the ones.
Okay. It's a very difficult market to get into. You can get it right with the tone and language and the targeting, but you need to make sure that you're repelling the ones who are too woo as well. You will inevitably get some of these woo people that slip through the cracks into your marketing funnel because of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You want to try and disqualify them before they even get to you, if you can.
Yeah.
That being said, we now know who they are. We know what they're like. We know some of the other trainings. So what other trainings have they done specifically?
Like a lot of them have done Unlimited Power Workshop or Weekend or whatever it is with Tony Robbins.
Okay, so Tony's a little bit more grounded than the woo-woo stuff.
I would say he's a really good sort of archetype of someone who's super grounded but can go into all that spiritual talk. You know, he's grounded like a rock for sure. And so a lot of the people that kind of like resonate with me that also, you know, maybe are feeling his vibe, that's the
Plus
thing.
He's got a market pre-vetted of people who are paying $80K plus a year to do his trainings.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely Tony's a good one. Who else?
Who else?
Who else are they listening to? What other magazines are they reading? What other websites are they going to?
So those are great questions, and not just for me, but for the people tuning in. I don't know how to answer those by and large. Maybe we could talk about how to discover those things. Like what do you actually do to find out where they hang out, what they read? You know.
Okay, one method would be if we looked at Facebook Insights. So Facebook Audience Insights, you can go there and you can plug into it the other demographics you just told me. So women aged 45 to whatever of this education level who like Tony Robbins. Facebook will then pull up other things that they might like, other information about those people.
Got it.
That's one way we can do it. It's broad because it's not an exact customer, but it is, there's a better picture of where it could be.
Yeah.
Other things you could look at are if you know any of the books that they're reading. We can go onto Amazon, see that book and see what other books are related to it or what other people who bought this book may have also bought this book.
Right. So like they read books like Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. Like that's pretty much a Bible amongst those people. Great book too.
Well, there you go. There's another person to look at, Brene Brown.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Marianne Williamson, although those folks tend to get a little too, law of attraction-y, a little too esoteric for my liking.
Okay, I'll probably stay away from them then. Stick to more your Tony Robbins, your
Brene Brown.
Ben Brown's.
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, definitely, because that would appeal greatly to them because that female communication.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly guys like Jack Canfield. I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, a little bit. Probably more like John Assaraf.
Sean Assaraf, yes. Okay.
Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, actually, let's get meta here for a second. So what we're doing here, you guys tuning in later because you're so savvy and you want to get a jump on this stuff. Do you see how Joss walked me through a process where he jogged my memory, and now I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. It's not just Tony Robbins. They like this author. And then he said, you can go on Amazon and literally see what people who like that author, what else they like. This is how we find how to speak our clients' language. Right.
And then from the Amazon things, we can look at their reviews and see what they're saying as well.
Yeah. Like literally see what they're saying. And so why is that important? I'm assuming everybody knows this, but in case they don't, just walk us through that briefly, Joss.
The reason why we want to see what your language is already saying is we're already trying to enter a conversation that's already going on in their minds. So to be able to understand their tonality and have them go, it's really powerful. Have them look at it and go, I felt like they were speaking directly to me. I felt like you're speaking my language.
Yes. I want to give you guys an anecdote here because if you see me on any 7 random days, the chances are 4 of those days I'm going to be wearing sweats and a t-shirt because I have the luxury of working from home. Or I might be wearing like nice dress shirts and jeans, or occasionally, like if you come to one of my events, I'll be wearing a suit. Here's the power of being able to speak your ideal target's language. And this is true, as many of you know, I was born in a cult and raised in a ghetto. I do not necessarily like hanging out with thugs and criminals or with out to lunch hippies, but if I need to, I can instantly speak their language. And here's what's so cool about that. That is more powerful than my appearance. I can look however I want, and all I have to do is say a few words a certain way for those people for anyone really to instantly go, you're my people, and then they'll go, I don't know why you're dressed like that, but obviously you're my people.
I think more that you obviously understand the subtonalities as well and the body language.
I do. And we can't communicate those things in copywriting, but that is obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious. That's something I deeply, deeply focus on. Yeah.
We are painting a mental picture in what we do, though.
Yes, that's true. Which really, so before this month, last month was all kind of copywriting in the guest expert trainings in the group. So this builds on that really, or goes really well with it, because this is a deeper level of how nuanced copywriting can be.
It should all tie together. If they're not tying in, you've got a big problem. But everything from your research through to your actual writing of it and measuring those results. And that's what we need to make sure we're measuring those results as well.
Yeah.
There should be a clear flow of the offer, clear flow of the messaging, clear flow of how it all ties together.
I love it.
And if there's any point in your marketing funnel where you're seeing people slip off, there's a disconnect somewhere.
And that's
or
where
something's not right. And that's where you can dig in and say, okay, why are people dropping off here? What is it that this landing page, what is it about this landing page that gets them to go away?
Right. So it actually, I mean, this is not going to be a surprise to anyone. It's a very deep process.
It's a deep process. Obviously, in many industries, it's 80-20, but the more people in the market, the more people need to invest, the more that's going on with that market, the more research you need to go and just get the basics done.
Yeah.
Like, I think years ago in the dating scene, you could have just literally put up a landing page and started to get leads and sales.
Yeah.
Early internet days. Nowadays, that particular market is very, very sophisticated. You need to really be on your game to even stand to make anything in it.
Right. So then what's the first thing for someone? I'm thinking of a couple of people who have recently come into my orbit who are literally in the process of asking themselves the question, like they know they want to coach, but they're not even sure what their offer is, who their people are. You know what I mean? It's all sort of diaphanous for them right now. What's the first thing we'd say to them?
You're talking about people who haven't even had clients yet?
Maybe landed 1 or 2 from like doing, if you do 30 Facebook lives, you're probably going to get a client, right? And then it's just like, okay, now what do I do? But they don't have focus, clarity, or a real niche. They couldn't tell you in one sentence what they do or who they serve, but they're working on it. God bless them.
Honestly, at this point, it's really hard because they don't even know what they're trying to do yet.
Right.
What you can do is just best guess and trial, which means who do they resonate with the best? Mm-hmm. Who has the resources to work with them?
Yeah.
And look at who they're able to provide value to.
Yeah. So first thing, because you have to start with some sort of just arbitrary points. Who do you resonate with the most? Who would you see yourself liking to work with? Second, who would be able, within that group of people, who would be able to work with you? And what was the third one?
Who has the resources to actually work with you?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. And then what? So now we've got it to the point where we know how to research right down to how our ideal client actually speaks, because we can look at reviews and things like that. Maybe we go into
Next thing you need to be researching, before you do that, make down the points in your own product. What is it about the product that's unique? What is about different? What is it that's just interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Write down your whole process, write down everything that you do, and really highlight all the most interesting parts that people would find value in.
And then you have to
have that laid out.
Okay,
so have that laid out in front of you.
Yeah, and then you have to refine it to where you can express it in that language, right?
Depends on what it is. You might need to change the way it's presented, but right now you just want to structure the right information.
Okay.
So find the most interesting part of the information that would have people interested in it, bring that to the top of it, find your bullet points, throw out there that are interesting that you can put into it, and find out what these people are looking for. So use that to build what we call your sales letter or your information. Mm-hmm. That's all that you can feed on for whatever copy you're doing, whether it's your Facebook ads, whether it's your landing page, whether it's sales page, whether it's a direct response mail letter. It doesn't matter. Actually, based on what your research has done, you should have been able to work out what's the best method of communication with these people as well. That's another question. Are they more on LinkedIn more? Yeah. Are they on Facebook more? Are they Snapchatters?
Right. Where are they?
Or if it's a very small, very, very micro market, you may be better off sending a direct mail to them. Direct mail being a letter or like a bulky mail package.
Uh-huh. How do we go about figuring the answer to that question? Because I think a lot of us, myself included, just default to Facebook.
Ask questions. Who are they? Where do they spend the time?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be the best way of actually reaching them and having them notice it?
So
if your target market is 5 CEOs around the country, Facebook's not going to be the best option for you.
Right.
Use it as a retargeting option maybe, but
right.
Again, you want to go for the most direct response route you can.
Yeah.
You want to get that best. So I'd either be aiming to get in a room with them somehow,
mm-hmm.
or send direct mail piece to these guys.
Nice.
And also, depending on what your product's worth, it might determine what kind of marketing you can do.
So, for instance, a $1,000 course or a $500, whatever, versus a $10,000 in-depth training. One, I assume you're going to say that the lower cost one is easy to just set up ads and run them to a landing page and make an offer kind of thing.
Yeah, to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent. Whereas, and maybe, gosh, this is almost like, I feel like if I'm putting myself in the position of the person watching this who doesn't know the answer to these questions, we might be hitting the threshold of overwhelm, So maybe we should actually just stop with that, the avatar development for today.
Well, it is important to understand where your market is. If you don't know that,
yes,
it destroys everything.
But I think maybe I'm feeling like let's pull back on the, how to talk to them if it's a low price or a high price offer. First, let's just have them figure out where the hell these people are.
Yeah, let's figure out where they are. So
yeah.
If it's a professional role, LinkedIn may be a good route to go. So connect with them directly on there and have your content directly targeted towards them, and your profile directly helping them.
Yeah.
Then you can retarget them on Facebook if you want.
Nice. I personally have a sort of second quarter goal, right? Second quarter to start figuring out LinkedIn. I've been putting it off forever.
Again, every platform is the same. They want to have their users have good experience.
Right.
And you need to have the right message to the right people.
Yeah.
That's for any platform.
That's really the fundamentals. So let's recap then. Let's recap what we have here. First, we pick who we imagine ourselves being sort of jiving with the best. Second, within that group, who has the resources to actually work with us, right?
Correct.
Then from there, we start to find out things like, what groups do they hang out in? What professional organizations maybe that they belong to, especially if it's more something that you can either access the professional organizations virtually or if it's local. What social platforms do they like? What books do they like? When we can figure out these things, when we can figure out where these people congregate, we can go there too and like study the language, get to know them.
Also understanding other aspects of their life. Do they have kids? Do they have a husband?
Right.
How does that impact them? Do they feel drained at the end of the day? Do they feel energized? What is your training going to be able to do to help them with that?
Right. Right. So all of these things are predicated upon knowing where we can access them directly, sort of quote unquote, in their natural environment. Right.
Great.
Awesome. And then I'm going to say that guys, it takes practice. Once you even figure it out and you do the research of where you can get them speaking their natural language, it's going to take practice. I think the next thing Josh said was to write out your whole process, coaching, whatever it is that you're going to give, offer, sell. And then you got to sort of massage it into their language, don't you?
You're massaging to their extent and making it interesting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's even the boring things. Like you may offer a guarantee that no one else does.
Right.
Or that people don't really push too much to that market. That's valuable. You may not see it as valuable, but it is highly valuable. You might have a process of the way you do things. You can give it a name that appeals to them.
Right. And so then that's more of a 1,000-foot view though, right? Is at this point we're saying to ourselves, how can I differentiate myself now that I found them? How can I make them notice me? Or am I missing that a little bit? Okay.
So we're going for people who are just getting started. Let's start them off with purely going to organic traffic sources.
Yeah.
Let's say they've understood who these people are. They know the language they speak to an extent. They know what groups they're in or what stuff they're affiliated in. Chances are you can use that to get into Facebook groups or LinkedIn communities that have a high concentration of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Using that information, you can start creating content for them and start testing your message in those groups as a testing round.
Great.
Then I'd do it, test your message out, get a few clients. If you still like them and you still like working with these people, then go further into it.
Awesome.
It's just because you talk about this really beginner market that they're not quite sure what to go do just yet.
Yeah.
Either that or pay some ad and just test it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason I stripped it back to that absolute beginner level is because I just think it's going to be really nice to reduce it to its simplest components. What I want people to take away from this, and I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick, but what I want people to take away from this is the stuff that people don't put on their highlight reels on social media, that they've done this work, right? Nobody jumps up and down in front of their Lambo talking about the research they just got done doing. But this underpins all of that.
I think it's not because they don't do it. A lot of people just don't know how to do it. They don't know what it is. A lot of people are accidental successes. They've unconsciously done some of this stuff, but have fallen into the right spots.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
And a lot of years of compounded work that just getting the right people. It's more an accidental success. But if you want to grow a big company or even want to grow anything beyond your cold organic network, that's where the research really becomes valuable.
Yeah. And that's what I want people to understand. When you see those sort of greats, the living legends in the marketing space, they all understand this stuff. And they also understand that it's not sexy to talk about, but it's so important. So if you have caught this and you have any further questions, reach out to Joss. He's in the group. Just tag him in a question, whatever. And if you're at the point where you're ready to really get clear on this, hire him. Because he, if you haven't been following him for a long time like I have, you don't know that he gets amazing results. He gets really great results for people. Powerful, meaningful, money, bottom line results. So I want to thank you for your time again. That's twice in 1 week. And yeah, you have any final things you want to share with these guys and girls?
I think we're all good, guys. One of the main things I want to do is just make sure you do research, make sure that you understand your market, and make sure you know your numbers.
Yeah.
Business is really connecting you, putting an offer in front of the right person and getting them to say yes. That's all we're doing.
Bingo. That's it.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.